Plot: Dancer in the Dark, 2000. Written by Hugo. 1964 in small-town Washington state. Selma Jeskova, a Czechoslovakian immigrant, and her preteen son Gene live in a rented trailer owned by and on the property of married Bill and Linda Houston. He the town sheriff. Her primary job is working on the Anderson Tool Factory assembly line, but she does whatever she can to earn money. What only Kathy knows among Selma's friends is that she is slowly going blind, her medical condition being genetic. Selma is barely able to see, just enough to do her job. Her primary reason for moving to the US and for working all the time is to earn enough money for an operation for Gene when he turns 13. Beyond this sole goal of the operation, Selma allows only one indulgence in her life: anything having to do with musicals, which she loves. It an escape from the problems of her life. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast that sheds light on blind representation in movies and TV with Dark in the title. My name is Sky McLeod.
I'm Melissa Bukta.
And today we were talking about Dancer in the Dark.
Yes, it was my week to pick, and I thought, let's watch some really depressing shit.
Yeah, was that the thought that you specifically had?
That was the thought I specifically had.
Well, we did it.
Well, we did. That, and to be honest, this movie has been on my radar for quite some time. It was always kind of talked about in college. Mm-hmm. You know, people would find out I'm blind. Oh, have you? Then we talk about movies because I love movies. Oh, well, have you seen Dancer in the Dark? It would come up eventually. And no. Oh, is that the one with Bjork? Oh, no, I guess I haven't really seen it. And then I got real depressed in college, and I started to watch. I spent like 2 days watching Lars von Trier movies.
Oh, my gosh. And you watched this?
No.
Okay.
I believe it or not,
Good.
I did not watch. I watched Antichrist, Nymphomaniac Parts 1 and 2, and Melancholia.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So, yeah.
This was my third time seeing this fucking movie, and I'm
God.
so mad because I don't even
so
have
sorry.
wanted to have seen it one time.
Oh, no.
I was watching, I was like, oh, right, I've seen this 3 times. And also I've seen the ending twice because one of those 3 times I saw the ending twice. I've seen the ending 4 times because I was like hanging out with like housemates who were like, let's watch Dancer in the Dark. And I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a real feel-good movie. Let's do that.
And then she, like, my housemate fell asleep like an hour into the movie, and I was just like, well, I guess I'm watching this now. So I finished the movie, and then she was like, next day I was like, oh, gotta go back and finish it. And so I wound up watching it again.
No.
So
I know.
So I am ready to put my foot down and never see this movie again because I fucking hate it.
Totally understand.
I mean, I love Björk a lot. Like, she's really great. Her performance is great.
For someone who's never acted before, this is the first time she'd acted. You'd think she's been doing it for years because she completely dissolves into this character. And I was watching a few interviews with her, and that was one of the main takeaways. Was she just was like, I just became Selma. Selma was me. Yeah. And I lived her truth and experience, and I lived her pain, and I experienced everything through her eyes. And that's just, it's beautiful. Performance is astounding.
Yeah, though it is, I mean, Lars von Trier also has like very much been Me Too'd by Björk because of this movie.
Right. Oh, yeah. I knew this would be a really heavy subject in general to talk about because it's hard because I definitely I would hold Bjork up more when talking about this film rather than Lars von Trier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. And, like, I was like, when I was just reading stuff about everything, I was like, I can't believe I gave money to Lars von Trier to rent this movie. But then I was like, okay, I'm just going to think of it as I gave money to Bjork to rent this movie.
Hey, there you go.
But, yeah, no, it's, oh, God, it's very, it's weird because, like, it's also a bummer because I feel like she could have been, like, she stopped acting because of this movie for a very long time.
And that just makes me so sad. I'm like, you're so good at it.
Right. And she could have, like, without having this terrible experience, she could have, like, had way more performances. They were all great. Mm-hmm. And not have had to sworn off, like, acting for so long.
Why exactly? So you say that she's Me Too'd him. So that there's a lot there. But I'm assuming he was must have been very abusive on set.
The allegations are that he, like, would hug her after, like, every take and gave her unwanted attention, and I think would whisper, like, sexually inappropriate things to her on the set, and, like, tried to come into her room.
Oh no!
And despite her being like, leave, and she had to like run away from him basically, and then they Lars von Trier and his collaborator on the movie, I can't remember the name of, were saying, like, oh, Bjork is so hard to deal with, and, like, you know, she was gonna cut, you know, stop the whole movie because of, like, her whims or whatever.
Which is insane, because you watch her in interviews and you're just like, how?
And you see how much of the movie she's fucking in, so, like, how much of work she had. If she really was going to shut that down, it would not look the way it does.
She was responsible for the music in this film, which plays an immense role in the movie. So she was very much a collaborator and an artist.
Yeah, they were fucking so lucky to have her. Like, ugh.
The reason the movie sounds and the reason the character is the way she is and the way it looks the way it looks and feels the way it feels, it's Bjork.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's all her. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. And then, like, you know, it's funny because whenever we have a sighted actor playing a blind character, we're always like, but, you know, it's the opposite, I guess, in this movie. And then it's like only her performance is what makes it worth it. And she is technically our blind character. Blindness in this movie. Right. Oh my gosh.
It's
where to begin?
Yeah, because I mean, I bought her more as a visually impaired character rather than someone who was totally blind, and at the end of the movie they say that she's lost all her vision, and I'm just like, but when did that happen? Like, she just nothing necessarily about her physical performance changes. Yeah. Even though she is said to be completely blind in prison at the end.
Right. And it's like, yeah, her vision is supposed to be bad, like a little bit bad at the beginning of the movie, and like throughout the movie she's supposed to be progressively losing vision, which, like, also you could just have I mean, like, obviously this is not the movie to do it, but you can just have a blind character that's, like, again, like 90% of blind people who has some vision, like, that would just be the most normal blind character.
She could just have been blind visually impaired throughout,
or just like just like blind, because you technically like blind
she
people.
Is a blind person.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, the fact that, like, that makes her more relatable, that she can like still do stuff.
And I also, this is one of the few movies where I was like, I really just would have appreciated one or a couple POV shots from her point of view.
Right.
And again, you don't necessarily need that, and I don't necessarily need to see how every single blind character in cinema sees, because it can come off, if you do it wrong, which most movies do, it comes off as just really tacky and over, gimmicky. And it's just too much. It's too much. Yeah, it's too much of a gimmick. But I feel like it would have benefited.
Well,
here.
I think part of the problem is because, like, it's not a Dogma 95 movie, which is just some fucking Lars von Trier shit. But I actually think that there's like not the rigidness of it, but I think there's probably some. I like the movies that do feel more like personal and perspective wise because of, like, it being having a lot of realistic things like we have the shaky camera, we have
which woof.
it's a lot.
This is I mean, the movie it's shot beautifully and terribly all at the same time, but as much as I didn't like and I didn't appreciate the close-ups and the shaky cam, it on the one hand it makes it feel very much like a documentary, and it feels so real, and you just happen to be a fly on the wall, and you're capturing horrific moments in Selma's life and in the people that are around her.
Right. It has like pretty limited like mixing, like sound mixing.
Right.
A lot of the clips are just, which is some of the like Dogma 95 things, but not all of them are used in this movie. But I think it makes it seem like a documentary. It makes it seem more like you are experiencing this as part of the it makes it feel very real, and like the camera is coming from a perspective that feels like someone who's more in it than other movies.
The camera doesn't feel staged. It doesn't. It doesn't feel like a conventional movie. Well, and then not only does it feel like a documentary, it's a musical. It's like when this finished, I sat up and I was like, this was a full-blown, honest to God musical. It's warped and twisted and horribly dark, but in the end, it's an honest to God musical.
Yeah, it was made into an opera, apparently.
Oh my God.
Which I guess it's probably more suited for an opera, honestly, than this movie. Because it's so melodramatic. But I mean, I think that, like, it is... also, I think because you have these, like, scenes where she's imagining, like, a dance number, I think that's part of, like, that, and it feeling like you're in the movie is part of why it feels so weird that you don't see her perspective at all. Like, I think, like, those elements are kind of, like, because in a way, we are kind of in her head, and we're very in the, like... in her perspective so much, and so then it's like we never actually see what that looks like, because the movie's asking us to kind of
because you don't necessarily, you're right, because we've gotten so much of the other stuff of her perspective, you don't necessarily need that,
but I think that's why it seems weird that it's like missing. Like I think that like the fact that you are getting her perspective in so many ways, and like but then you're not actually seeing the world through her eyes, and like that does have a kind of a weird thing of like her perspective does also get lost. Like we also are being asked to just like be a voyeur and not, I don't know, like it's hard. She's hard to like, I mean, you empathize with her so much, but then there's also some times in the movie where she does stuff that is just weird, like that is just doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, and in the interview, Bjork touched on a little bit, and some of the other actors and everything were talking. Catherine Deneuve especially talked about how Selma became this, creature that needed to be protected. She's this precious creature that and beautiful that needs to be always protected.
Even though she's like a disabled single mom who's like fucking working for
her ass off,
family, like, which is like, very not a person, like a person that deserves the same respect as a rich white man, because like is institutionally like fucked over. She's also an immigrant, like she's just she is in a vulnerable position in our society for no good reason. Well, and
in the end they couldn't protect her. Nothing that was done in the end protected her.
Yeah,
she was still manipulated by people that she thought were her friends, and forced to do an unspeakable thing. So it's well, she's okay, so how there's lots to talk about. And it does feel like the first thing I'm like we should talk about is the last scene in the movie. I know.
So do we want to
obviously if you're listening to this, spoilers for Dancer in the Dark, it's gonna happen.
You go buy like 5 Bjork albums and leave it at that.
Exactly.
Don't watch this movie.
I listened to like a couple hours of Bjork, of her music after this movie, and I felt much better about humanity.
That instead of watching this movie, and we're about to spoil it. So
the ending is one of the main reasons why I probably will never come back to this film ever again. I might I definitely would listen to the soundtrack. Shoot, I might even YouTube some of the musical sequences because
they were cool.
They're there. You can easily access them.
Yeah,
and they're really cool. But the ending is just it's heartbreaking.
It's fucking stupid. Also,
it is fucking stupid
because she's on death row, so she's somehow like getting like hanged, and also I guess it's the 60s, but it happens so quickly in the movie where I'm like, it's not really. I mean, people stay in death row for like years and years and years.
Right, and she's there for like a week.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so back up. So the whole reason she's here is because she kills Bill, one of her landlords, her cop
who's
friend,
a sheriff who.
Right.
Steals her money.
Absolutely. Yep.
Just like flat out,
and then tries to
obviously.
Right, and then tries to frame her for it. And then she takes the money back and is like, I'm gonna leave now.
And she's like, I don't want anything but my money. I don't care.
I just want to leave. And he's like, nope. And not only does he accuse her of tackling him and getting his gun, he also makes up this cock and bull story that she came onto him so that his wife also hates her now.
Right, and then he's suicidal and is like, kill me, you have to kill me or I won't give you your money back. And so, and she's like, no, I just want my money back. It's my money that I saved up for years, and you're a sheriff, and I am now fired from my job because I'm disabled.
Right.
So can I just have my money back and go, and I'll leave you and never deal with you again?
Yeah, I'll move out.
But that can't happen. She's forced to kill him, basically, or like have her entire savings like stolen when she's like very little money and just lost her job because she's disabled.
Of course, and this is definitely where I'm like, oh, it's a Lars von Trier movie because she shoots him. Sure, that's actually the gore in this movie is actually quite restrained, which is very nice. Thank you. But she shoots him and then she kills him in the most Lars von Trier way.
Like a security.
She grabs the security deposit box and just rams his head into it multiple times. Because
she has his gun because he's giving her his gun, but she's a blind person. She can't shoot.
She
which
misses,
at least
yeah.
I'm like, yes, blind people couldn't shoot someone very easily. That is true.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like
it's brutal.
It's brutal, and
really brutal.
There's just literally absolutely no fault of her own at all. Like it's like she doesn't have any agency in the movie. She's constantly at the whims of other people, and yet she's so just deals.
Doe-eyed and innocent, and just goes with the flow.
Which is just like, come on, like this person wouldn't be fucking furious by now, and that she keeps this fucking murderous asshole. I mean, I guess he doesn't murder anyone, but he's a cop, so probably did. Yeah. But he's like this fucking piece of shit who stole her money. She keeps his secret after he's dead, so it really doesn't matter.
In court, they're like, okay, you got to say it, and she's like, well, I promise not to say.
Which is that he is poor because they're like, well, you had an inheritance, so he should have the money, and she's saying that it's her money, but that doesn't make any sense. She's blind, but they think she's not blind for some reason. Like that makes any sense.
Oh, yeah, she's just hiding behind her handicap is what the lawyer says.
Which is just
no. Well, yeah, and they don't know anything about Gene at this point, about the fact that she was saving that money for his surgery.
Right. Which is also like, fucking save the money to something better than that. It's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess fine, whatever, but like...
Well, it's a mother thing. It's her, she's his mother and she wants him to have the best possible life. They're here in America.
You don't know if he... Yeah, like... You don't know if that's what he wants. Like,
no, we don't.
Talk to him about
we don't
it.
know. No, we don't know if that's what he
like
wants.
If my mom had done the same thing and didn't tell me and made sure that I didn't go blind and none of it else had happened, just saved up for surgery, didn't tell me, and my eyes got fixed, I never went blind, I'd be fucking furious. I would be mad about that. So I don't that's her heroic thing. It's something I would have just been mad at if I was this kid.
Right. But it's also, this is heroic. This is also not Gene's story either. I mean, Gene is in the story. But Gene is more of he's a plot point. He's a means to an end.
He's definitely a plot point. Yeah, I mean, he's not in the story at all, but I think that's but at the same time, if he didn't exist, or if it was okay that he was going blind, like, then none of this would have happened. You know, it's just like the entire movie couldn't happen then, because that would have been a happier situation if you just let him go blind.
Right. I mean, I guess I understand and sympathize with her decision a little bit. I mean, they're living in rural, Washington, in this tiny town.
They were living in Seattle. Am I wrong? I might be wrong.
I think it
looks pretty rural, so that's why I was confused.
It's not Seattle, definitely not. It's like a logging town or something. It must be, yeah. But they're living in this tiny rural town, and there's unfortunately, look, as much as, yes, I'm advocating for blindness, and being blind is not going to stop you from living a fulfilling life. It's not. But this is the 60s. They're in a rural town in Washington. What resources does this kid have? Where is he going to go? Who is, I mean, he's got he's got Kathy now. Sure, okay, he might go to the city.
You got male privilege, like, they're from Czechoslovakia, so probably some white privilege you could use to get a decent job. I mean, it might fucking suck. It might be hard to make money. But, like, I mean, like, that's not worth any of this. Like, the fact that it's hard to make money that's a societal problem.
Right. Is it worth her life? Like, is any of this worth Selma's life? Because in the end, that's what's happened. She basically trades her life for her son's so that her son can see.
Her son can see, not for his life at all. Like,
no, you're right.
Literally for him to not be disabled.
Right.
Like, it is worth him losing a mother, which, for fuck's sake.
Which Kathy begs her not to do this.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is someone being actually sensible in this movie. She's screaming because she's like, you could pay for a lawyer, which, like, yeah, fucking pay for the lawyer. It's way better use of your money.
Right, which they do until she finds out, and then she gives the fucking money back.
Right, which is just like, oh my God. It makes me so mad.
It's like Selma, you just don't want to live. Like, she honest to God had just lost the will to live. And of course, no one deserves what happens to her. I mean, nobody deserves to die like that. But she just...
But to, like, give up legal counsel? Like, that's just... It's just so ridiculous. And like, that kid is going to be scarred for life. Right. Like, it's not... doesn't know him no good. He'd be so much happier as a blind person with a parent that didn't fucking kill themselves for his eyesight, which is not that big a deal to have eyesight.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to ask Kathy, well, what happened to my mom? And she's going to be like, what? Oh, well, she got hanged, I think is the correct tense of the verb. She got hanged, so you could see. I mean,
right, exactly. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it just seems so emotionally scarring in a way that, like, I tried to save up money for you to get a surgery. You're gonna be like me, because it's a genetic thing, and, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, we'll figure this out.
Right. And Selma works so hard. I mean, she bends over backwards trying to save all this money, and she's just works and works and works and works, and this just feels futile.
Yeah.
Why bother?
Right, exactly.
If in the end you're just gonna be killed.
Right. Why bother? And also, like, if there's anything to do with that money, at least just get the lawyer who's going to get you, who has the ability to get you a safe life so you can be a mother to your child.
Right. He could have gotten her out of there. Absolutely. I think as soon as the fact that it was brought up that she was saving it for her son and that Bill stole the money, flat out stole, I think she would have gotten off.
Yeah.
Honestly. And she killed because A, self-defense, and B, he was suicidal. Right, he straight up asked her to murder him.
Right, and also if you find out that he had, like, used all the money of his inheritance at that point and was lying to his wife, that gives a perfect motive for him to be, like, setting her up like this, you know? Like, it is, once you get all the actual details, it's very easy to make a case that, like, she should not go to jail and definitely not be hung for this, like... It just seems so pointless for her to the idea of robbing her child of a parent when there's no need for that. And like, just to see, like, fucking sighted people are dumb. Like, why would you want someone to like, just have like truly no, just absolutely, it just infuriates me so much. This movie makes me so mad.
I mean, the execution scene will stay with me forever. It will haunt my dreams. It's so awful. I mean, it's just absolutely raw. Because I think in the last second, before she starts singing, in the last second, she finally comes to terms with what she's actually doing.
Yeah.
And realizes that she doesn't want this. It can't end this way. And then she finds out that her son had the operation. And she sings about the second to last song in a movie. She always used to leave the theater before the musicals that she loved so much ended, because then it was like they never ended at all. So she sings the second to last song, and then and you see everything, and it's awful. It's horrible, and it's like it's a musical, but it's like everything about it is warped and twisted and dark.
It's just like, just don't make it about a blind person. I mean, don't make it about disabled people, please God. Like, we have to deal with enough. But like, don't fucking use us like this. Like, it made me feel used as a disabled person. Like, no, not all disabled people want their fucking children to be able-bodied. Like, there's no value in being able-bodied over being disabled. It's just humans have diversity of who they are. Like, and so the idea that you would murder this woman for no good, like, I wish I could talk about this without just being so fucking furious.
It's injustice, and you should be furious. These images aren't shown just because, oh, ha ha ha, it'd be funny to watch a blind girl hang. Like, you should be furious. It is infuriating.
I'm furious at Lars von Trier for fucking Björkover and for using us, disabled people, as a fucking metaphor for whatever bullshit he has. Like, the criminal justice system in the U.S. is fucking bullshit and horrible.
Well, and that we are so soft as disabled people that we would just sit back and let all this fucking bullshit happen
that we
to
wouldn't
us.
like try at all. That we would just be like,
fight.
I just kept a secret with someone who made me kill him, like, because he stole my money, and now I'm gonna die because of him.
And then to find out that, like, oh, okay, my kid can see. Okay, bye everybody.
Right, and this is fine. Now I'm happy because my kid can see his grandkids. He's probably not gonna have his grandkids because he's probably gonna be suicidal because of like how the trauma that he's gone through that you did nothing to like try to mitigate at all. Like, how is seeing going to be helpful? Being an able person does not, like, disabled people experience a lot of trauma, but that's not like because of our disability. That's because of the world. like you could be a safe place for him, but instead you're just abandoning him, like, and giving him sight like he needs that, like, over a loving house.
Right, not only abandoning him, but she's abandoning Kathy. She's abandoning Jeff, who she could have had a relationship with. Yeah, exactly.
And she is doing this musical, and she just gives up at a certain point, even before all this happens, like, because she's going blind, and it's just like she's so resigned by going blind, and all she needs is just literally a blind person to be like, hey, it's not that big a deal. Like, it's probably not going to be that big a deal for your son either. Like,
as usual, as usual, somebody get this woman a fucking cane. Yeah, come on.
So many things. I mean, like, and I think the fact that her job was in jeopardy at the factory, and that she was like saying, oh, I'm just, daydreaming, and it was funny because I was like, yeah, I bet like that could happen in real life. Like, and it's funny that people are cool with daydreaming but not blindness. Like, that like somehow that's better because able people can daydream, I guess. But like, she is worried about getting fired, and that's a legitimate thing that she has to hide her blindness. Like, in that way, I'm like, okay, hiding your blindness in that situation makes sense because her job is in jeopardy.
Right.
And she, everyone needs a job. Like, we don't have a socialist country. Like, she was, or like, you don't get money unless you make it. So she's fucked over in that situation.
Just little things that she said at her job, like her line about communism. She's like, it might be better for everybody if we were just communists, because then everybody shares the wealth. And then just that one little tiny innocuous statement is turned against her in the courtroom, and just basically used as another thing to skewer her with. Right.
Which, like, yeah, of course, that would be the thing. I mean,
that's how the justice system works. But I
mean, and it's just weird too, because I'm like, oh, I wonder why she like, she just left to get him the surgery, which is kind of like, I wonder if she just didn't leave at all. Because, like, I don't know. It's just, I guess, yeah, a surgery that's not life-saving in a socialist or a communist country would not matter. You wouldn't necessarily have as much access to surgery that there's really no reason to have, because being disabled is not, being a blind person is not the worst thing in the world. You don't need to fucking fix everyone. But so I get that, like, America would be the place to get it because we fucking do shit like that.
Right. But I mean, we already know that she's kind of resigned to everything because the train song happens, which is probably the best song and the best sequence in the movie. I enjoyed them all, but I really liked the train sequence. But I liked it because she's talking about, you know, I've seen everything. I don't need to see. And it's kind of cool because it's almost the inverse of an I want song.
Yeah, I don't need.
I don't need it.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I like that sentiment of, like, I don't need to see this stuff. I can still enjoy. I think it's just, like, so undercut. Like, even in that scene, we already know she's so dead set on getting him their son the surgery. So I'm like, well, why, if you have this level of understanding, what are you doing? Like, why are you bothering with this stupid surgery? Like,
it's understanding for her. Like, she's given up on herself and is just willing to sacrifice anything. But it's not giving up.
It's understanding how to be a person in the world. And,
sure.
like, and there's a lot of beautifulness that comes with blindness. And a blind parent, like, has so much opportunity to, like, pass on the joy of blindness to their kids. And, like, there's something so sweet about that. I would love to have blind children. It would be so nice. Like, blindness is an identity. It's not a bad thing. It's not, you're not lacking anything. You have an identity that gives you a lot of strength in the world, and also you have to deal with a lot of oppression. And so, but it's just like, if she's coming to terms with it in herself, should, like, sensibly should be, like, understanding that blindness is not the end of the world. But that's not, she does not seem to have learned that lesson at all, because she's willing to die just so her son doesn't become blind, because that's the worst thing in the world, apparently. Still. So it's just like, for me at that point, I was like, okay, well, if you think that, then get over the surgery thing. Like, it just doesn't compute in my head of, like, it seems hollow to me when it's like, when she's still so dead set on getting him the surgery.
And I guess I don't agree with her choice. I agree with you. I do. I agree that her son should have, you know, he should experience blindness, because blindness is a beautiful thing. But as someone who had eye surgery, you know, and as someone who's raised sighted, and my parents weren't necessarily carting me off to doctors trying to change me, which was nice. But, you know, I had surgery on my left eye to try and improve it, to try and center it a little bit more. And I had, you know, I didn't necessarily have a choice in that. And then I had, when LASIK came around, when it was new, when it was a thing, I got real excited. And my parents had to talk me down, because they also got excited, but we did the research and realized that LASIK is just, it's not in the cards for me. Yeah, no, it's my eyes are too far gone, and you have to hold them still, and I physically can't do it. There's no way. There's no way. My dad was actually going to get LASIK, and the day of the operation, he went in for pre-op, and the way they do it is, or at least at this particular clinic, the way they do it is they put a box over your head and then they shoot the laser. And my dad is severely claustrophobic, so they put the box on his head and he freaked out. So he came home with his glasses on and we're like, what the hell happened? He's like, couldn't do it. They put the box over my head and I couldn't do it.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
But how? Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering, the surgery that you got, like, what are your thoughts on that now?
I'm not angry that I had to go through it. It wasn't horrible. It was day surgery, so I had to go home after the surgery and I had to lay on the couch for a few days while my stitches dissolved. I don't think it did anything. I don't understand. That's the one thing that I can't get around, is I don't understand why this even had to happen. Like I said, the experience itself wasn't that traumatic for me.
Right.
It
could have been
young.
more traumatic.
It could have been horrible.
You never know.
Yeah, no, it could have been horrible. Like, they could have fucked up and I could have lost the left eye entirely, or, you know, what the fuck ever. But what I was told by my parents was it was for centering my left eye, because my left eye is very lazy and it just likes to veer off in whatever direction it wants to. And I can sometimes see the results of it. Like when I was doing film stuff for school, I did this scene with another dude, and this is an intimate scene, so we were very close to each other, and I was trying to like convince him not to go or something. And my teacher remarked that during that particular scene, when I was focusing on his eyes, my eyes were pointing the same direction. She was kind of like, that's amazing. They were pointing at him.
Oh, okay.
Instead of just, doing loop-de-loos or the left eye, like doing whatever it wants to. She's like, both of your eyes were centered and they were pointing at him. And it was kind of fascinating. And I think maybe that could be a result of the surgery. But my left eye still likes to do what it wants to do. So right. I don't think I'd be a different person without the surgery. Like I think I'd be the same person.
The thing with all these movies is like you have these surgeries where it's like it will definitely cure them of blindness, and then we've watched like a documentary, I think at least one about it, where it's like no, of course that's not true.
No, it's not overnight. It's not going to happen. No.
Like some people fight and do like 40 surgeries just to gain back their eyesight, quote unquote, and it doesn't even work. Like that is the more common story. Like it's like if you have enough money, you can go and do like 20 surgeries.
Sure.
And like there are certain things like a detached retina that's like acute. Like there are some things where surgery could have like at the time changed it. And granted, like this kid is like 13 and hasn't started going blind, so maybe it's less psychologically damaging since he is not going blind. He isn't already blind and then being given sight back, because that would be much worse. But like, so I guess that's one thing.
And when you're going through puberty anyway, your eyes are going to change. They're either going to get better or they're going to get worse.
Right.
If you're dealing with something genetic like that, like that was the worry when I went through it. Is my eyes were either going to get better or they were going to get worse, and they ended up getting a wee bit better, but they mostly just stay the same.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, like, I don't know.
I mean, sorry.
No.
I mean, I could potentially be blind at, like, 50, 60.
Like, have no eyesight.
Right. Like, it could happen. Totally. Absolutely. It doesn't look like I'm on that trajectory.
Right.
But it could absolutely happen.
It's funny because my eye condition is just central vision. So, like, it will never affect the peripheral vision, Stargardt's disease. But I always think about it. It's like literally anyone can go fully blind.
Oh, yeah.
Like, anyone could lose all their vision, and I'm just as likely to, like, lose my peripheral vision as anyone else, just not going to be from the disease I have. But I think that's, like, a weird thing that we forget. It's like, as blind people, a lot of us, it's like, sometimes we're just as likely to go blind as a sighted person,
Sure.
go more blind, just because I'm like, yeah, even though I have a condition that has a specific thing that it attacks, like, I could always just, I could get like glaucoma or some of the one of the tunnel vision ones as well.
yeah. That's actually that is one of the things that scares me the most is not going blind. I would, yes, my life would change and I'd have to get used to it, but I'm blind. But honestly, getting glaucoma scares the shit out of me. I'm just like, I don't want to. I've talked to too many people, and I've heard too many stories. I really don't want that to happen.
Just because of like,
it's just slow, and
like,
it's the pain, and it's the slow demise. I'm like, if it's gonna go,
right, you just wanted to just do it. Yep.
At
that point, you could just be like, I don't need eyes, just do glass ones.
There you go. That'd be cool. And then I could
but then
pop them out.
Sleeping would be annoying because you'd have your circadian rhythm would be all messed up.
That would be true.
But now they have like some meds for that. It's a very small market. It's like only people with no light perception, only blind people with no light perception, which is not especially common. Even if you don't have any vision, you still might have light perception. But anyway.
Right.
But once you get a glass eye, then your circadian rhythms get all fucked up.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
No, I don't know. I think like it's just the idea that just everyone is like going blind is the worst thing that could ever happen to them, because it's basically, this movie is like being alive and blind is like has no value. Like you like if blind is death, like if you are living as a zombie because you really just should be dead because you're a blind person, like that's kind of the moral of the movie. Like, well,
and she is kind of a little bit of a zombie. Like things happen to her,
right? She doesn't do anything. She's
as much as we've lauded her performance, because still am gonna.
Yeah, her performance
is
great.
Is amazing, but her character, the way she's written is everything just happens to her, and she doesn't ever really put her foot down. I mean,
well, it's not until the very end that she's like, I'd rather die and have my son be like eugenics to be like a perfect human.
She finally makes a choice. And it's to die.
The stupidest fucking
choice. It's the wrong
choice.
It's the absolute wrong choice. But
and then I'm just like, well, why do I even care about this character to begin with if they're that terrible in the end? like it's just so I truly wanted to punch her. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how is that? Like, you didn't even ask your kid. Like, you're not even. You're too embarrassed. You're like, you can't see him because you know you're making the wrong choice.
Right?
Like,
She never wants to see him. And Kathy's like, well, we should. He should see you. And she's nope. Well, and then she even has that really, really amazing, sweet relationship with Brenda, with the prison guard.
Yeah.
And Brenda is trying to convince her to stay alive.
Right. And then she just kind of gives up.
Well,
I mean, because what can she do? She's the prison guard. Like,
no, but what she can do is, be there for her and comfort her as much as she can. And that's just, God, how do you do that? How do you,
I don't know how anyone
How do you
does
comfort
that job.
someone as their life is being snuffed out?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know.
It's also just like, I don't want to see another fucking blind woman like just fucked like so unbelievably
by the
badly
system,
by the system, by everything, and then to just also have her like also take no opportunities to have agency and actively like seek out not having agency. Like she's like actively doing things that put her in a vulnerable position, not even like in a weird way of like keeping a dead man's secret who fucking made you go to death row, like is making you go to death row. You wouldn't keep his secret in that situation. Like, no one would do that. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, his, you should, it's not a bad thing to, like, want to keep secrets that people entrust in you. But, like, also, come on. Like, that's when they put you in such a scary, dangerous position and you could actually potentially get out alive by saying what happened, then that's when you stop. You don't have to keep that promise. He was an asshole. You don't have to keep his promise.
Right. And then I'm asking myself, is she developmentally disabled? Is that the thing? But she's not. Like, she's absolutely not. I don't think she is. Having watched the entire thing, I truly don't think she is.
She just stops acting like a human about an hour before the movie ends. I say before the movie ends because at that point we've already been watching it for more than an hour. It's a long fucking movie.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
It's a long one.
But like I guess she's never totally a person, but it just gets worse and worse and worse by the end, where you're just like, what is she doing? She's just giving up on everything and like so singularly focused on something that probably matters the least of it, like just not.
It's miserable in the end. It just goes... It starts out and then it just goes from bad to worse, and then it's just miserable. Yeah,
because at the beginning it's just like watching someone who loves musical theater and enjoys is in a show and is like slowly going blind but kind of hiding it, and then it's threatening her factory job, and that's a movie that's like at least it's gonna have some annoying things in it but slightly easier to watch, and then it just becomes unbelievably fucked up and just like it just I don't know, I think it's offensive, honestly.
I mean, we hit the police officer's death and I was like, oh yeah, we're watching a Lars von Trier movie. Right? And this is like Lars von Trier light. Like, this is one of his earlier films. This is before Antichrist and before I'm gonna be shocking and just because I can be. Well,
that almost makes it worse. At least if you're like, oh, I'm gonna be shocked because I can be. It's like, okay, whatever, man. Like, I don't have to empathize. But you like fucking you make a blind woman character, and we have so few of those, and they're so abused and fucked over in all the movies we watch. And like at this point in the podcast, I'm fucking sick of it. I want to watch a blind woman who has agency. I want to watch a blind woman who loves her blindness and is not pining in sight in some way or sacrificing herself or I guess to proliferate sight in the world, like she's Jarmo Morel or whatever the fuck his name was.
Jerla Morel.
Like I just want to watch a blind woman that has like, I don't know, just like has self-esteem and like agency,
of course.
and
oh yeah,
and is not being gaslit and abused by every single character. And then also, like, we watch all these blind women who are gaslit and abused and just don't do anything, and not in like a way of like they can't. A lot of times it's just literally because you're like, who's writing this? Like, why aren't they doing anything? Like, the script does not explain it. It's just like, well, you know, blind women are very docile and don't just let you know, everyone hurt them and don't, you know, they take it because of course you're a blind woman, so you gotta take it. It's like, no, you don't fucking gotta take it. Most people like wouldn't. Like, it's just
right.
it's not even reasonable.
Yeah, stand up for yourself. We have agency, we have rights, we have the right to see ourselves represented in all this media that we consume, and we have the right to see good representation, just like anyone else who has any other disability, or who is a different skin color, or who identifies as a different gender, LGBT. You know, we have the right. We should be seeing ourselves in media, and until things like this, you know, aren't held up on pedestals and aren't questioned, and aren't and people aren't actually talking about them, it's not going to change.
Yeah,
I'm not saying this movie has polluted, you know, representation of blindness for all time. I mean, there's
better
tons,
not be for
there's
all
tons
time.
more.
Though it has polluted.
it has polluted. Like there's so many more.
It's like the airplanes of fucking blind representation, just polluting the air for everyone.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just think also, like, until we get better representation, stop fucking killing us. Like, in the movie.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, just like stop killing. Like, that's such a small thing to ask. Like, please, like, I could give you like 100 reasonable demands, but like, number one is don't kill the fucking blind women. Stop doing that. Like, many of us live long, happy lives.
We're
like,
not
fuck you.
Right. We're not raised to be sacrificial lambs.
Yeah, and to represent like, oh, society is like, and I mean, like, capital punishment's a big problem. It's not really one that blind women are specifically in danger of necessarily. Like, it is also just like not even the right metaphor. Like, it is weird too, because you're like, this is what like, what is going on? But yeah, I mean, I'm like, having a disability definitely puts you at a disadvantage in the court system, but there are a lot of ways in which that manifests, and blind women also, I don't know, we deal with a lot of ableism, but also I'd just rather watch us kicking ass instead. Like, than really getting into all of the fucked up shit we just already have to deal with.
Than just like misery porn.
Yeah,
basically.
and it's just like it really. Like, are you even supposed to empathize with her, really? I mean, like, in
oh, that's a good question.
Real way, because it just feels like if you empathize with her, just the movie is just like unbearable.
I mean, there were certain points, mostly relating to blindness, where I absolutely empathized with her. All the shit she deals with at her job.
Yeah,
I empathize with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I've gone through that. Being so excited and taken away into daydreams by music, and not only just music, but by sounds, by different by just the way the machines sound or the way the train sounds, and those things become the music and they become the beats. I empathize with that. I get that. Cool. That's beautiful. There is so much beauty to her and to her character and to her blindness, but unfortunately it is snuffed out so terribly.
Yeah.
You don't even have time to really sit with it.
Yeah, no, it's just like, yeah, her blindness, even though it is the most important plot point, also is like kind of glossed over in a lot of ways. Which I'm always like, do I want to watch this is exactly why blind people are fucked up. But at least sometimes then it makes me feel at least more vindicated to talk about. Like, I feel like this movie is just like, no, don't really think about the blindness stuff, but also you have to think about it in every scene. Like, it's just asking you to think about ableist ideas about blindness and not asking you to actually think about our actual experiences and what our real lives are like. And so I feel like also in talking about it, I'm just furious because I don't see myself in it at all, and yet they're used. It's like used is like the best thing I can think of, and And like, again, Björk is amazing, and like
Right.
like just really tried to be like, okay, this is not a blind person, this is Björk,
You're
and
right,
I love
it's
her, and
Björk,
she's giving
yeah.
a great performance.
Yes.
And like that, I just kept being like, it's Björk, not anything related to my life. And she's an actor who went through a terrible situation, which didn't really help that part, but but it is, I think the more you think of it, like, as it just is, like, it's hard to talk about it as a blind character, because it's just like, blindness is not there. It's just not, like, it's only there in ableism terms and never there in actual terms, which is really it's really annoying, because it's just like, I think it's also just like, that is something that somehow I've watched fucking 3 times this movie, because people around me want to watch it, and like, people will bring it up to you because you're a blind person, like, and it's like, we should not have to fucking deal with this shit.
No, it's like, how is this, you find out I'm blind and I like movies, how is this your go-to? Like, how, really, yeah, like, I
do the way he looks.
Oh, exactly, like, oh, you're blind, you can totally relate to this.
Right.
In some respects I can, absolutely, but it's just, on any other level, it's just miserable.
It's miserable
and depressing.
At the end of the movie, you're not like, oh, I'm gonna go be like a kick-ass blind person. You're like, I just don't want to live in this world anymore.
I just want to curl up into a hole and die.
Yes. It's like unbelievably, like, just... yeah, it just makes you feel horrible. Like, it's just an abusive movie. Like, I just...
Which is so hard, because it's got high highs and it's got low lows.
Yeah.
And it's... I mean, I guess you can't have the light without the dark, but still.
I mean, yeah, but it doesn't need to be like this at all. I mean, it just really doesn't. I think you can have a movie that's funny and deals with real things that people deal with, and it doesn't have to feel like a slog. There are many stories to tell that don't have to feel like a slog. I mean,
what interested me is the structure of events, considering that this is a musical. Like, if you take it as a musical, and just how odd everything is, and how, like I said before, like, just how warped and twisted everything is. I mean, she gets her final curtain call at the end. It's awful, but that happens. Her relationship, with Jeff, how weird that is. And in a musical, that might be totally, completely different. The I Want song being flipped and inverted.
Yeah. Well,
so
that stuff's cool.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed those sequences, and thinking about how this compared to the older musicals, in Hollywood during the 30s and the 40s, which is what she loves.
Right.
But that doesn't excuse the treatment of this character.
Yeah.
And it doesn't excuse the director, and it doesn't excuse anything.
No.
But I think if you're talking about it as a film, you can talk about it as a film. There are interesting things, and dare I say, good things, beautiful things. But it's you gotta dig for them. Some of them are hard to find.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I think I like the style that it's filmed in, as kind of makes it like the kind of making it feel like a documentary in that way. I think that's cool. I think if you told a story that was more documentary-like, that wasn't such melodramatic, like, bullshit, that I think it would have worked a lot better, because it's like that style is made for, like, a fucking Linklater film. Like, it's made for something with very little plot that's just kind of people chilling.
Isn't that interesting, especially in that style, when they're at home or when she's in the factory and everything? That's really cool. It did feel a little bit like a Linklater, like almost like Boyhood or something.
Yeah, and those, like, little moments is just like a peek into a movie that could have been good or nice, like, and actually really enjoyable to watch. But then it's just like, you have those little moments where you're like, oh, there could be a good movie, and then it's just gone. You're like, oh,
right.
and then we have Marvel, and so I'm just like, come on, like, we couldn't have done something actually good with this shit. Like, it just makes I wanted to see a movie that was like there's so many cool stories you could tell with that style, and I feel like we're very past that at this point. Like, I feel like film is kind of dead. I'm sorry. And it's like a very film school conversation now, so I apologize for many reasons. But I mean, it's just like you don't really have like indie movies. You don't have mid-budget movies like this.
Right.
Like,
Well, you do, but they're independent, and sometimes they can be much harder to seek out unless they, make it big or something. I mean,
right, and they're like extremely cheap. Usually,
Right.
horror films are the ones that make it big.
well, right, because they are extremely cheap and they please audiences.
Right.
But yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with Scorsese's statement about Marvel movies being more like amusement park rides, but I
agree with that 100%.
Right, but I can understand where he's coming from. Like,
yeah.
My whole stance on that statement is, I think it's very dismissive of everyone who has put their time in to make these movies.
No, you're being dismissive of like the Imagineers that like work very hard on amusement park rides. Like, that's an art form as well. So.
It is an art form. No, absolutely. 100%. That's a total art form in itself. But I think he's being rather flippant of all of the people and the actors and everybody who have, put their hard work into this. Like, if you don't like it, I understand. Well, I get it.
I think that's one thing, but it's like it fucked up the industry is the real problem.
True. Like, nothing ever gets made.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think we need Marvel movies more than all the cool movies that could be getting made. And especially like right now with so many more, like, to give more access to not white men, like Lars von Trier,
sure.
But like actually interesting storytellers, to give them more access to not Marvel level capital, but like just movie level capital, so they can make really interesting stories and make something that's made similar to this, but actually has a story that is compelling, or even not a story, but like has something that is in any way true to life and feels genuine and doesn't feel like you're being attacked when you watch it. Like, that's what I miss.
I hear that. Yes, absolutely. And when I see previews for like those independent films or those straight up dramas that just don't get made anymore, or those just adult films, there's a part of me that gets a little squidgy because I'm just like, there's no fantasy in this. There's no one flying around, but then I'll go and watch a film like On the Rocks. And realize, oh my God, this is so good. Like, where has this been?
Right.
Oh my
gosh. It's gotten crowded out. Like, I guess it is hard. I definitely came of age at a time where I wanted to, like, I always loved TV. And then I got really into movies at a very impressionable age when it was, like, the height of, like, the Sundance era of like the early aughts, and like so much independent movies getting made, and like I just feel like, and then that just got destroyed, and like I wish that had kept going, because I think at that time it was more kind of like stories told from privileged places with male, white men directing them, abled white men. And I think if we'd kept going, we might actually have more interesting movies, even more interesting and better movies now. But like, it's just, I feel like the film industry just has it just doesn't do that anymore.
What was the one that you and Conrad saw, Limbo, a little while ago?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was, I think it was probably an English production. But I mean, I think Hollywood definitely is not. I think it's like at this point it's probably streamers maybe that are going to start giving more money.
It is because Amazon has actually, however you feel about Amazon or not, they've actually been premiering a lot of people of color films and stories, a lot, like all of Steve McQueen's stuff, all the Small Axe stuff, which is dealing with his look at culture and racism and race in the UK. That's all there. Barry Jenkins' The Underground Railroad premiered there, and that is a series all about Black lives and about.
Well, I mean, I still think TV now is just the only thing doing interesting stuff.
Yes,
but like, but I think eventually maybe if some of the streamers started also giving money to movies, and then those were the movies that were happening, maybe. But like, I mean, it's just now it's just TV. Is us
right? And I still specifically make the choice. Yes, I go and watch the superhero films. Absolutely, I'm part of the problem. Hello, but I still make. I know it's all me, right?
Yeah, it's 100% your fault.
I'm the reason Black Widow did so well.
You should die so that your child can see,
so that he can see more independent movies. Yes, I'm still going out to see the superhero movies, but you know what? I make the choice to go see the smaller stuff too. Like, I mean,
That's good.
I'm gonna go. Watching The Green Knight tonight. You know, I can't necessarily call Old an independent movie, but I saw Old. I haven't seen Pig yet, but I'm getting there.
My mom was like, it's depressing. So.
Is it really?
I don't know. Conrad really wants to see it.
I want to see it too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably good. I do the opposite problem where I'm just like, I'm just not going to see any movies. But then sometimes I'll be like, oh, let's go see On the Rocks or live. Like, I will.
Right.
Don't pick Marvel. So I guess I'm like, but I am part of the problem that I also just don't see movies at all anymore, like that much. But I do see independent ones when I see them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the simplest way to phrase it is when it comes down to it, we have to vote with our dollar. We have to go see. I know. But we have to go see the movies.
But that's like inherently ableist capitalist thing.
Yes.
I mean, not that you are ableist by saying that, but like I think that system is ableist because disabled people have less dollars because of oppression.
Absolutely. I know it's what popped into my head. It's not the correct way to say it,
I think you're right. I mean, I think that that's like the power we have. But I mean, that's also what maybe watching Dance in the Dark, I'm like, fuck. Like, it's hard. You have to remind yourself you have some agency in the world.
Sure.
And like, when you're given like such a specific opportunity to have agency, like I would have more agency than this character did.
Mm-hmm.
But
definitely.
It is still hard.
I would not have gone out like she did.
No, not even remotely. But like, yeah, it's just hard when you see someone you're like, I just want to watch something where I can aspire to that level of agency or aspire to that like conviction of like doing things and actively doing stuff.
And I'm always recommending Peanut Butter Falcon to people. Always. I'm like, you want to watch like whatever you think about Shia LaBeouf, but like you want to watch a movie that was like written for, made about, and stars a disabled person.
Yeah,
it's Peanut Butter Falcon all the way. I mean, the movie. It's beautiful. It's dare I say it? It's a perfect film. It's amazing, and it is because the main character gets to play and be themselves. Yeah, and it's a story about them. And Shia LaBeouf incorporated like aspects of his real character and things that he's interested in, and wrote and carved this amazing. It feels like a parable or a fairy tale or something. It's a modern day Tom and Huck, honestly, or a modern day Huck Finn is what it is. Anyway, I can't say enough good things about it, but but like
We're just like we don't want to talk about dancing.
I know,
Let's
right?
talk about better things.
But like, give me more of those. Yeah. But give me one with blind person
and blind writers. Good God, like come on.
Right.
I mean, disabled writers. Disabled people should be writing our own stories, and movies have a weird thing. But like, make us auteur would do a way better job than Lars von Trier. Good God, like Björk probably would have done a better job as well, being writing and directing this. But at the same time, I would also like a blind women to write our own stories as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that is just, and that's so vital, and I that would fix a lot of the problems. I mean, we could still feel kind of, I think there's some ways that we could feel helpless still because the world is still ableist, but I just want to see us having some more control over our own stories, and I just want the world to just understand better. Like, we just feel like so much of it is a lack of education, and and we're so constantly silenced that it just doesn't.
Well, education and empathy, honestly, just people are not made to be empathetic and understand how to walk a mile in our shoes or what it's even like.
Well, but I mean, I think you need to be educated. I think like people are empathetic. Yes. I think when they're given, I mean, not everyone, but like a lot of people most people can be empathetic when given the opportunity to. But if disabled people aren't the ones writing the narratives, then their empathy is wasted on bullshit. Because if you're like, I want to learn better about disabled people, I'm going to really empathize with Björk's character in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Then that's not going to get you anywhere.
No. So
I think it really is like, what images are we showing people, and how, how do we get actual blind people to tell our own stories? Because we're going to do a much better fucking job.
Yes. Also, this is just important to me because I didn't say it. Shia LaBeouf's co-star in the Peanut Butter Falcon is Zachary Gotsagan. He basically plays a version of himself.
Nice.
But it was very important for me to say his name. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Terrible at remembering everyone's names. I do know Björk.
Yes, and I know his first name is Zach, but I was like, I cannot remember his last name.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Do we want to talk about Dancer in the Dark anymore?
I think we've veered away from it pretty much.
Yeah.
Might as well just rate it.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this movie a 22.
You okay? Totally understandable.
I love Björk. Yeah, just buy 5. I mean, I'll just keep it short. Buy like Björk's catalog of music,
Yes.
And like, I don't know if Lars von Trier gets money for buying the album that was made out of this movie, so maybe watch that stuff on YouTube.
Or something. Yeah, it's on YouTube.
And then actually buy her actual albums or go see a show or something. Saw her live, took a ferry to see her.
Oh my gosh.
In San Francisco.
Oh, she must have been amazing live.
It was really awesome. And we actually went 2 weekends during the same tour.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So it's really fun. So go see Björk live. She's really awesome. Yeah, that is my rating on this movie. Is go see Björk live and also just like if you have a blind friend, don't fucking ask us or make us watch this movie. That is like such an uncool thing to do. I mean, like I am sure the people who did that to us did not mean it, but just like anyone listening to this, just PSA, please, God, like just try to protect us from this movie. Don't fucking make us watch it or ask us about it. So yeah, that's my rating. What do you got?
I'm sitting pretty at a 2020.
Yeah.
I was going to go a little higher because Björk is Björk and she is magical.
Yeah.
But I think 2020 is totally fine. It's interesting because there is plenty of things I don't like about this movie. Maybe more that I don't like than I do actually like. But I think from an acting standpoint, because that's just where I'm coming at things from. Okay. I would definitely say check it out once. It's hard because I don't want to recommend anything by Lars von Trier very much, but I liked it. I didn't like all of the aspects of it. I hate the ending. I hate the fact that Björk's character has no agency and what happens to her. I hate it. But there's so much joy to be found there. And just listening to her voice and knowing that that came from her. She created all of that. She masterminded all of that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. As a story about a blind person, no, it's awful. It's a terrible story. But from a purely like acting movie perspective, it's beautiful. And it's this really weird, fucked up version of those old studio Hollywood musicals. And there are performances there that I think should be seen.
Yeah.
But I think this is a one and done. I've seen it now. I can move on.
Lucky for you to be able to say that.
I know, jeepers. Yeah. I'll listen to the soundtrack. I'll listen to Björk's music. So I suppose it's a very half-hearted, lukewarm. Yeah. You know, if you got to write a paper on it or something.
Just maybe like be a counterexample. Direct a movie with Björk in it and make her want to make movies again.
Yes.
That's like
be
the kind, wonderful person that makes her want to be in movies again, so no one ever has to see this one and can still see her perform as an actor.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense. You tend to look at it from an actor perspective. I'm from a director perspective, so that makes sense that you would have a higher, because the actor, great, director, horrible. Okay, so
you never have to watch this again.
Yes,
you're done.
I know. When we started doing this podcast, that was one of the first things I thought. I was like, I can't believe I have to watch that movie again, but we'll have it eventually.
You know, we've done kind of amazing. We've avoided it for a year and a half. I know, not watching it.
I think now my self-care after it is thinking like, I just never have to watch it again. There's like,
there you go.
There's no reason. Ta-da! Unless I'm like get imprisoned and tortured at like some weird, like a prisoner of war camp or something. Seems unlikely. So I'm like terrified to say this because I don't want to like jinx it, but I'm pretty sure I never have to watch this movie again. Yeah, Yeah, good. Okay, I'm glad we're done with that. I love Björk. She's great.
Yes, absolutely.
So next week is my week to pick.
Yay, so excited.
Yes, and so you know how we've actually done 6 movies with dark in the title? I looked.
Yes.
So because, you know, we're on the kick of doing movies with a common title from other movies we've done, my segue into this is we're watching a movie that also has a something that is in another title of a movie we watched, which is 23 Blast, because we also watched another movie that starts with the number 23.
Yeah, 23 Paces to Bleecker Street.
Yeah, so, you know, the classic blindness, you think the words blind, darkness, sight, and then 23, so makes sense. But it is a 2014 movie, which seems... I was just like, what's something silly and light? We'll see if it's silly and light, but it's like, it seems kind of like inspiration of porn, but like maybe has some wink and a nod, but it's like based on a true story football player.
Cool.
So high school football player.
Sports
So we'll
movie.
see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, you know, I've seen some shitty high school football movies, but I've seen some really great ones too. So
yeah, it could be
Yeah.
good. It might just be. It could be like a apple of my eye, where we're like,
Oh,
surprisingly
yeah.
good. Or it could be dumb.
it could be really dumb.
But at least if it's dumb, it won't be as hurt. It won't hurt us as much. And it's
No.
not a blind woman. So honestly, at this, sometimes I'm like, oh, we need to get more women, and then we watch some movies with women, and I'm like, oh, I hate this.
Let's go back to the men.
Yeah. So we're going back to, and we're going hardcore, going to football player. So very, very mask, toxic masculinity, maybe, but we'll see. Okay, yeah. So then the next question is, what you were blindsided by this week, Melissa?
Right. I saw the movie Old last week, and it's very interesting to me because I haven't really. I've seen some of M. Night's movies, M. Night Shyamalan, and they just either freaked me out. My brother's favorite movie is Signs. One of his favorite movies is Signs, and that movie just scared the pants off of me when I was younger. I was absolutely terrified, and I couldn't even like enjoy the movie for what it is, because it's actually not a bad movie, filmmaking wise. But I was so scared. Anyway, but I'm sitting there eating my popcorn, whatever, and I saw this preview for this movie called Old. And it's basically about a couple of families, one main family in particular, a husband and wife and 2 kids, a son and a daughter. And they go with these other families, and they end up on this private beach because they're staying at this schwanky resort. And they had all won this, like, you know, stay at this resort. And so they go onto this beach, and they're doing their thing, da-da-da. And then they start to realize that... time works differently on this beach, and everyone is slowly aging, rapidly. Everyone is rapidly aging. So we see like the kids start out as like 6 and 12, and they end the movie basically in their 50s.
Oh my gosh. And
the movie, it deals a lot with, obviously, with mortality and why we're here. And just aging in general. I mean, the scariest thing is the ravages of time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to fully give away the ending, because of course there's the twist. You have to have the twist.
Of course.
But to be honest, I wish that this was more ambiguous.
Yeah, seems like it seems like almost M. Night Shyamalan is the wrong person to make a movie like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's the wrong person.
He's not good at like the ambiguous kind of, which then I agree with you. That sounds like a good ambiguous, like that just sounds like it should be more ambiguous.
Yeah, and it's very much at the end, like, you know, all the answers and everything has been spoon fed to you, and
right.
And it's, you know, and I kind of felt I felt like it was a little disingenuous. I really liked the
classic M. Night Shyamalan.
I really like the ambiguous nature of the story. You know, time is going to catch up with all of us one day, and it is horrible, and it can be very scary, and dying is very scary. And even though it is a little melodramatic, and more than a little, and the dialogue is weird and stilted, ding ding ding, check. Just go down the checklist right now. Check. I still actually quite enjoyed myself.
Nice.
And I think it's nowhere near his best, but it's not his worst.
Okay.
And you really you can't go wrong, going to see this movie. It's based on a graphic novel called Sandcastles, which I would like to read now. But it's old, it's playing everywhere, and it's a good time.
Usually
it's a good time.
Movies that are playing everywhere are newer.
I know, right? Yeah. Also, this is like a horror thriller, but if you don't like body horror or gore, there isn't a lot. There's a couple of scenes in particular, but it's not drenched.
It sounds more existential.
It is much more existential, yeah.
Yeah, no, that seems very existentially threatening to me. I don't mind getting older, but what I like about getting older is it takes a lot of time to do it.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
So the idea of it all happening in one day is absolutely terrifying.
There's stuff in this movie. Woo! It's just another reason why I will never get pregnant ever.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it completely blindsided me because he got my butt in a seat.
Yeah.
And that never happens.
No, during COVID, especially when movie theaters were closed.
Yeah, right.
But I guess they're open now. So
they are indeed open
yes.
now.
Well, it sounds interesting. I might watch it.
It is. I think it is. I don't like the ending, but everything else is great.
Yeah, you're not suited for an M. Night Shyamalan movie, it sounds like, which is,
well,
I'm not either.
I'm just not suited for, you don't have to talk at me. Like, just let it end.
I agree.
For
it's almost
sake.
like people who love film mostly have this opinion, but.
Yeah.
But that still sounds fun. And it's not Marvel, so it's gotta come with something.
There you go.
What I was blindsided by was a Netflix show classic.
Oh.
But it's a little docu-series. Docu-series makes it sound a little more serious, but it's called This Is Pop, and it is just about pop music.
No, that's cool.
It's very cool. It was something I watched the first couple episodes, and I was like, oh, Conrad is going to want to watch this as well, so I'm going to stop watching it so we can watch it together. Which means I've gotten to see the episode about autotune twice, because it's very good.
Ooh, okay.
And it is basically there's an interview with T-Pain that
oh my god,
I
have to watch this now.
Yeah, it's like centered on this interview, and I love T-Pain a lot, and watching this I just love T-Pain like 10 times more, and I really already loved him so much. So
way to go, T-Pain. He's great singer. Yeah, actually, he's a gorgeous voice.
Yeah, and I love his autotune stuff too. I just love him as an artist a lot, and it just makes you want to. The whole thing makes you want to hug him too. He's great. But so that is This Is Pop. There's like each episode is a different one. There's one about like country music being like adverse to change or like innovative. And it starts like Lil Nas X and then like goes back in time.
So watch that, and then after that watch the mini docuseries with Nicolas Cage about swear words.
Oh yeah, this could be a good.
It's really good.
I haven't seen that yet, but yeah. That sounds like a good combo. It's all on Netflix. But yeah, so This Is Pop. It's pretty cool. It's like 8 episodes. We haven't finished it yet, so it's like 8 or 10. I can't remember. But yeah, that's just fun. There's one about Sweden.
Oh, cool! All about ABBA.
So yeah. There's interviews with them, but then there's also like Swedish producers and stuff. Though this movie is Icelandic, so Scandinavia. They have a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah, it's kind of slightly similar.
It's in the area.
Yeah. General region. But yeah, so that is, and well, technically, Alexander here is Danish, so
you're right.
Circling Sweden.
We're getting there. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my what I was blindsided by. I think that's a podcast.
We did it.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to see what this movie is. 23
Me too.
We'll
I'm hoping for Remember the Titans and not Radio. So we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely have seen both those movies. I know what you're talking about. Our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Facebook and our Instagram are both Citizen White Cane. If you'd like to send us an email, you can send it to citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, there's a link in the show notes. what's your favorite Björk song? And can you sing it like her too?
That's very important.
That's
yes.
yeah.
What's your favorite Björk outfit?
Oh yeah. And what movie would you write where Björk would have just like a really fun time acting in it?
Yes. And can you describe a household appliance like Björk describes how her TV works?
Yes. Any of those things, just look at the show notes. Come back next week and we're going to go back to 23. It's 23 and me. That's this podcast at this point. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye. No, I'm kidding.